Hello and welcome to Box Office Receipts. I'm your host Tyler Callahan, and this is a busy week. It's a busy week, so we got the summer box office continues with Bad Boys Ride or Die coming out. We got Sony buying a theater chain, buying the Alamo Drafthouse. We got streaming updates, and oh yeah, Shari Redstone has walked away from the Paramount Skydance deal. Yeah, so we'll be talking about that in a few minutes, but first, as always, let's talk about the box office numbers. Domestically, it looks like the summer movie season is finally starting to pick up thanks to Bad Boys, as Bad Boys Ride or Die debuted in first place with 56.5 million. In second place was the Garfield movie with 10 million for a total of 68.6 million. Third place was If with 7.8 million for a total now of 93.3 million. In fourth place was The Watchers, which opened to 7 million. And in fifth place was Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes with 5.4 million for a total of 149.7 million. So Sony is having a great weekend thanks to Bad Boys Ride or Die. While the opening is a few million less than Bad Boys for Life, that I think is to be expected, as that one was the first Bad Boys film since 2003. As for Ride or Die, it got the biggest opening for an R-rated film since last year's Oppenheimer, and will probably hold that until Deadpool and Wolverine comes out next month. Reception-wise, it is going good as well, with a 65% from critics on Rotten Tomatoes, and an A- cinema score from the audiences. So as long as it holds steady at the box office, this will be another successful run for Bad Boys and for Sony. Also, I think this shows the general public are basically over the slap from the Oscars. Like, as long as Will Smith stars in films people want him to be in, right? Blockbuster films, action films, they will show up no problem. As for Warner Brothers, well, the bad start to the summer continues with the release of The Watchers. The horror movie bombed at the box office, and with a reported budget of around 30 million, it looks like this will take a bit of a loss at the box office. In China, Be My Friend opened in first place with 6.2 million, and with previews is at $10 million. Opening in second place was Walk the Line with 6.1 million, and with previews is now at 10.9 million. Third place was the Garfield movie with 4.7 million for a total of 13.3 million. Fourth place was Crisis Negotiators with 4.5 million for a total of 9.5 million, including previews. And in fifth place was Gold or Shit with 4.1 million for a total of 4.4 million, including previews. And China's film board has not only approved Deadpool and Wolverine for a release, but also given it a day-and-date release with most of the world, so it will be coming out July 26th. This is a first for a Deadpool movie. The second one was released in the country, but as an edited version called Once Upon a Deadpool, making it PG-13, and came out months after the original Deadpool 2 came out. And look, I'm not saying there might not be some small edits in Deadpool and Wolverine in China, but clearly it's small enough to where it doesn't need to be its own cut. It will be the proper version coming out the same day. Disney and Marvel must be happy with that. As for new releases from Hollywood and China, they didn't do good at all. Furiosa came in at a debut of 6th place with 3.2 million, and Civil War made 2 million in its debut, coming in at 8th place. Looking at international numbers, Bad Boys Ride or Die earned 48.6 million for a worldwide opening of 105.1 million. The Watchers earned 4.7 million for a worldwide opening of $11.7 million. Not a good start. Furiosa earned another 13.7 million for a worldwide total of 144.3 million. The Garfield movie made another 15.3 million for a worldwide total of 192.7 million. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes is now at 359.8 million. If is at 160.7 million. And The Fall Guy is now at $165.6 million worldwide. Also, Godzilla x Kong: The New Empire passed 570 million worldwide, now making it the highest grossing film in the MonsterVerse franchise. Previously, it was Kong Skull Island that made the most, that came out back in 2017, and it earned 568.6 million worldwide. Once again, we start off news in Hollywood with Paramount because, well, everything fell apart as Shari Redstone has rejected the offer from Skydance. The past few weeks, everyone has been waiting for her answer as the board at Paramount gave the green light on a deal and moved it up for her to review. Well, she said no. As for what happened, well, it seems there was no one big thing, but a bunch of things together that caused Redstone to walk away. Deadline reports one of them is who would be liable in case of lawsuits from shareholders. Remember, Class B shareholders with non-voting rights do not prefer this deal, so there was going to be a risk of a lawsuit or two if she signed off on it. They also report another issue was if the merger was going to happen, how would running Paramount in the meantime work? Personally, I'm shocked that this happened, and I don't think it's a good move. For the company to survive long-term by itself, it needs to do massive changes, and the influx of cash from Skydance would have helped maybe avoid some layoffs. Also, in hindsight, if there was still this much interest in possibly not selling, BET and Showtime should have been sold off over the last few years and used that income to pay off some of the company's debt and given them more stability. As for what happens next, no one knows. Sony is still looking into Paramount's financials, and for new offers, there are reports that Edgar Bronfman Jr. and Stephen Paul are both looking to get groups together to make an offer just for national amusements, which would get them the majority control of Paramount. Yeah, I've said it before, I'd watch a movie or a series at this point because there's a lot of twists and turns of the story. You'd think it'd be simple, sell to the best offer, be done with it, walk away, yada yada yada. We're like 5-6 months in at this point now of talks, and they just walked away. There is another potential sale happening. This one is over in the UK. Sky News reports that Cineworld is now looking at possibly selling its UK theaters and have hired Alex Partners to help with the process. As for theaters that have been sold, well, Sony has gone ahead and bought Alamo Drafthouse. This was mentioned on a podcast a few months ago that the theater chain was up for sale, and well, now a few months later, it's sold. As for how they will manage it, well, Sony is making a new division in the company called Sony Pictures Experiences, and the theater chain will be managed there. Besides that, for now at least, nothing is going to change as the theaters will keep running. Here's what the CEO of Sony Pictures Motion Picture Group, Tom Rothman, had to say about the purchase. Quote, Alamo Drafthouse has always held the craft of filmmaking and the theatrical experience in high esteem, which are fundamental shared values between our companies. I'm jazzed that our company is doing this. End quote. This comes as a bit of a surprise, but it makes sense if you think about it. Sony is very big into theatrical releases, especially as it doesn't have a general streaming service. I say general because they do own Crunchyroll for anime, and that has been growing quite a bit, but for non-anime fans and shows, they got nothing. So with a big focus on theatrical releases for their films, why not own a few theaters as well? I don't think the Alamo Drafthouse will only play Sony films from here on out. I don't think so at all. Just that if a new movie from Sony does come out, you can be sure it will be playing there. Maybe they'll have special events for it. But yeah, I think at first it doesn't seem like Sony would be like a good buyer. But considering where they're at with their movies, it's actually a good fit. Idris Elba is starting up a new production company. He is teaming up with Danae Petterly to start 22 Summers, which for now will focus on producing documentaries, but will eventually work on scripted projects as well. Its first project is called Erased: World War II Heroes of Color for Disney+, Hulu, and National Geographic, and is already completed. That's right, it's available to watch by the time you are hearing this. In other news, Dwayne Johnson suffered an injury to his right elbow on the set of The Smashing Machine. The actor posted a picture of it on Instagram and already said he is getting back to work. The pic of it looks pretty bad, so hopefully he has a speedy recovery. Warner Brothers has decided to move up the release of Trap by 1 week, now set to come out August 2nd. The Wrap broke the news that Yann Darmange has left the director's chair for the Blade film over at Marvel Studios. I really don't know what's happening with this film. I feel like it shouldn't be this complicated to make a Blade film. As of now, film is still set to come out next November. But I'm going to be honest with you, you should probably expect that to change at some point. Because right now there's no director, and now because of that, no start date for filming. I don't see it coming out next year. There were a lot of casting updates this week. Disney has cast Catherine Lagaya as Moana in the live-action adaptation. Production is set to begin later in the summer for release in July 2026. In exclusive from Deadline, Emily Blunt is in talks to star in Steven Spielberg's next film over at Universal. The untitled film is set to come out May 2026. And Deadline broke the news on Miles Teller's next film. The actor is set to star in a remake of An Officer and a Gentleman over at Paramount. The original came out back in 1982 and starred Richard Gere, Deborah Winger, and Louis Gossett Jr. Sadly, there were some deaths this week. Tony Mordente died at the age of 88 after a brief illness. He performed on Broadway, but was also in the film adaptation of West Side Story, and was also a TV director, having worked on shows including The A-Team, Family Ties, and Matlock, among others. Kevin Brophy died at the age of 70 due to cancer. He was in a few films and TV shows including Lucan, The Long Riders, and Hell Night, among others. Nick Maver died at the age of 59 due to natural causes. He was a deckhand who appeared on the Deadliest Catch reality series on Discovery. Tony Lo Bianco died at the age of 87 due to prostate cancer. He was an actor who appeared in films and TV shows and is most known for his role as Sal Boca in The French Connection. Francoise Hardy died at the age of 80. While it was not said what the cause was, she was diagnosed with cancer 20 years ago. She was a French singer and actor and appeared in Grand Prix, which came out back in 1966. This happened a month ago, but it is being reported on now. Producer John Balson took his own life at the age of 40. He was a producer who was working on a true crime series called In the Footsteps of Killers. Channel 4 over in the UK have opened an independent investigation into his death. And the dog who played the role of Daryl Dixon's companion in The Walking Dead passed away. His name was Seven and was a Belgian Shepherd who appeared in the last 3 seasons of the show. Thoughts and prayers go out to their families during this time, and may they rest in peace. And as always, fuck cancer. Apple Original Films released the first trailer for The Instigators. The heist thriller is directed by Doug Liman and stars Matt Damon, Casey Affleck, and Hong Chow. Now this one is not getting a full theatrical release. Instead, it will have a limited release for a week starting August 2nd, with it available to stream on Apple TV Plus starting August 9th. Studio Canal released the first trailer for Paddington in Peru. The sequel will come to theaters in the UK in November, while if you're in the United States, you'll have to wait until January. For VOD Premium, let's switch it up a bit and start with the Nielsen Top 10 for the week of May 13th to the 19th. On the overall Top 10, Bridgerton came in first place, thanks to its 3rd season. It got 2.75 billion minutes watched. Second place was Grey's Anatomy with 1.165 billion minutes. And right behind it was Madam Web, which premiered on Netflix with 1.62 billion minutes watched. That was real close right there. Over at Prime Video, Hunter Schafer has signed on for Blade Runner 2099 and will co-star next to Michelle Yeoh. The upcoming series will serve as a sequel to both Blade Runner films. Ahead of the premiere of the 4th season of The Boys, showrunner Eric Kripke announced that the show will end with its 5th season. As a fan of the show, I'm glad it's ending and not being dragged out. And for most shows, 5 seasons is a good length to tell a story, I think. A trailer was released for the upcoming film My Spy: The Eternal City. This is a sequel to My Spy, which was one of the films that had its release affected due to the pandemic back in 2020. The sequel brings back both Dave Bautista and Chloe Coleman, and will be available to stream starting July 18th. And the trailer was also released for Divorce in Black. This is the latest film directed and written by Tyler Perry and stars Megan Good and Corey Hardick. It will premiere on Prime Video on July 11th. Over at Starz, they'll be wrapping up another Power spinoff with the upcoming 3rd season of Power Book 4, Force being the last one. Not much going on at Disney Plus or Hulu this week. There was an exclusive from Deadline on the movie from 20th Century Studios about the founder of Bumble, starring Lily James. We now know it is in production and will be a straight-to-streaming release, coming to Disney Plus and Hulu sometime next year. Paul Giamatti has signed on in a recurring guest role as the villain for the 1st season of the upcoming new Star Trek show Starfleet Academy for Paramount Plus. Over at HBO, Variety broke the news on a new limited series in the works called Trust. It'll be based on a novel of the same name, written by Hernan Diaz, and will star Kate Winslet. Todd Haynes is onboarding the project as well as a director, and will also write with John Raymond co-writing. Winslet was recently in another HBO limited series earlier this year called The Regime, and Haynes recently directed May-December. And in shocking news, House of the Dragon has been renewed for a 3rd season ahead of its 2nd season premiere. I know, really shocking. I didn't see this coming. This small show that's getting an audience. Never thought House of the Dragon would get a 3rd season. At Netflix, Wake Up Dead Man has started filming, with director Ryan Johnson posting a picture of Daniel Craig's look for the film. It is set to come out sometime next year. The In Snyder broke the news that both Idris Elba and Rebecca Ferguson are looking to join Catherine Bigelow's next film over at the streamer. Not much is known right now, just that it'll be set at the White House as a national crisis happens. If both of them join, that makes it a must-watch for me. Netflix is developing Man on Fire as a series, with Yahya Abdul-Mateen II set to star in the lead role. The series is based on a novel of the same name written by A.J. Quinnell, but you would most likely know of the film adaptation from 2004 that starred Denzel Washington. It was announced that the animated series Arcane will end with its upcoming second season. However, co-creator Christian Link mentioned that there was a planned ending for this show, and that this is just the beginning, as they have other stories to tell. So yes, Arcane is ending, but expect other stories based on League of Legends at some point in the future. Along with that, G-Kids bought the global home release rights to the first season of the show, excluding China. This means they will be releasing 4K and Blu-ray copies of the show, as well as a steelbook version. Zack Snyder announced that the director cuts for both Rebel Moon Chapter 1 and Chapter 2 will be available on Netflix on August 2nd. And to wrap up, we have the Netflix Top 10 for the week of June 3rd to the 9th. For English films, Hitman debuted in first place with 10.8 million views. In second place was Atlas with another 8.9 million. And in third place was Ice Age Collision Course with 4.8 million views. For English TV shows, Eric came in first place with 10.1 million views. Second place was Greek Girl with 7.3 million. And in third place was the third season of Bridgerton with 6.9 million views. And Baby Reindeer has cracked the top 10 English TV shows of all time, coming in at 10th place with 84.5 million views. It knocked out The Witcher. And as if for this episode of Box Office Receipts, if you want to follow me on Threads, X, or Instagram, links to those are in the show notes. Thank you for listening, and see you next time.